Today we're going to be looking at string manipulation, which includes the length of a string, changing it from upper and lower case, string slicing, and concatenation. So string manipulation is a term that is given to when we are doing anything with our string, and we know that a string is anything in Python which is included in your little speech marks. It will often turn green if you're using idle. The reason we would do this is because it will help with basic data validation, checking that it's right or not. It might be able to change what is going to be displayed to the user if you only want to use part of the string and so on. And sometimes we might need to logically use part of a string in different programming tasks that we've been given, especially in exams. So today we're going to be having a look at how we can see the length of a string. We're going to be looking at how to convert a string into uppercase. We're also going to be looking at how to convert it into lowercase only. We're going to be looking at string slicing and something called concatenation, which is a nice big fancy word. So to begin with, we're going to be looking at how we can check the length of a string, which is how many characters are currently inside the string. And to do this, we're going to be using a Python keyword, which is len, L-E-N. So I've got a very short program here, which is where I've got a variable, which is name, and I'm storing Alice as a string inside my variable. Now I'm going to use the technique which is known as len, so I can see how many characters are currently in that string. So let's run our program with len like this, and then we've got name, the variable, inside an extra set of brackets so that we can use len properly, so we can check how many characters are in that variable. So the result of running this program is it's outputted a 5. And if we just go back to my program and quickly check, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 characters, which is why it's outputted a 5. So it's being correct, it's counted it exactly. Now, included in a string, it does count spaces as well. So let's just do one more example of this. If I put a space at the end of Alice and then run it again, let's see what it outputs. And you can see this time it's outputted a 6 because the space also counts as a character. A common use of len might be to check the length of a password to see if it's got enough characters inside. The next string manipulation technique we're going to look at is converting everything into uppercase in a string. Now I'm going to do this in a bit of a different way. I'm going to change the variable itself and what it's storing underneath, and then I'll display it separately in an output. So to update the variable, I'm going to say name, which is the variable, is now going to become whatever name currently is, but with dot upper at the end. And dot upper is our keyword that we're going to use for our string manipulation to make everything uppercase. And notice that following Python syntax, you do need to open and close your brackets at the end of that to make it work correctly. Following that, the line underneath it, I've put print name so that we can display what is currently stored in the variable name. Let's have a look what happens. So because it's running in a sequence, it's gone from the top and displayed our 5 again because there's 5 characters in Alice. And then underneath it, you can see it's fully displayed our string in uppercase. This is a really good technique if you're doing any validation to check what the user has entered. And if they've been going up and down, uppercase, lowercase, you can just put all of that into uppercase so that it's easy to check something against it. Our next technique is very similar, but we're going to change everything into lowercase, and we're going to do it in the same way. We're going to update our variable so that everything will then be lowercase, and we can display our output to make sure that it has worked correctly. So let's run our code. We're going to use .lower this time instead of .upper. .lower is our keyword to make everything lowercase. And don't forget your open close brackets at the end of it. From the top, our sequence, it's displaying that we've got 5 characters in Alice. It's then going to show everything in uppercase, and then you can see it's updated our variable again to make everything lowercase. Now we're going to have a look at a technique called string slicing. Now string slicing is where you can just display or pick out parts of a string. Now it's important to note here that actually in the first position, the first index of the string is actually position 0. So for example, position 0 in our name Alice would be A for Alice. So we're following correct Python syntax. To do this, we need to use square brackets, which is different from the brackets we've been using so far. So I'm going to use print because I want to display something. I'm going to put our variable in, which is name. I'm going to open my square bracket, and I want to display anything from position 0, and then I'm going to put a colon and then say where it's finishing. Now I'm displaying only the first 3 letters here. Even though there's a 3 there, which seems a bit confusing, it will stop at the one before it, and then you'll close your square brackets, and then we'll see what happens. So let's run our code. So from the top, Again, we've got 5 characters, uppercase, then lowercase, and as you can see, it's only displayed the first 3 characters using 0:3. If you wanted to display any more, you would need to use the next number up and so on. Another string slicing technique is where we can go from the back instead. Now what I'm going to do is do just -3 with a colon at the end, and what that will actually display is the last 3 characters of our string. So if I run my code, let's see what we get. So you can see this time it's displayed ice at the end of our program. If you wanted to pick out any other letters around the back end of the string, you could do -3 to -1, and we can run that and see what happens. You can see we've been left with IC, which is this bit of our string just here. For our final technique, we're going to have a look at something called concatenation. Now this is where you're going to attach and join together 2 variables or 2 things. So what I've done is I've stored 2 variables. I've got name equals Alice, and then I've got surname now, which is storing the string more. Now to display these normally we would do print name comma surname. Let's run it and see what we get. And you can see it's put Alice Moore with a little space between them. Now to successfully concatenate it, we need to use a plus sign instead. The plus sign is what is going to do concatenation in Python. So let's run my code one more time so we can see what happens. This time you can see there's no space and they've successfully been concatenated. And that's it for our string manipulation. I'll see you next time.